Boker Tov, continuing with Shaare Teshuva, Shaar HaRishon, Saif Lamed. We are up to the 9th principle. Yesterday we did the 8th principle. 8th principle was short. The 8th principle was pretty much humility b'ma'aseh. We asked the question a few days ago, how do you practice humility? And yesterday we discussed many different examples of how we practice it. It begins with how you speak, never be loud or aggressive, be soft-spoken. And then it continues also, the Rabbeinu Yonah explains that how we dress also has an effect. L'maaseh, how we can become more, we're actively working on our humility and being humble. And beautiful, powerful proofs from Tanakh as well. The 9th principle is today. We're going to spend at least 4 or 5 Saifim on it. It's going to spend a few days probably. The 9th principle is Shevirat Ta'ava HaGashmit. The 9th principle says Rabbeinu Yonah is breaking one's physical desire. That is Rabbeinu Yonah's 9th principle in Teshuvah. And he says, Yashiv El Libo, a Baal Teshuvah. Someone who is trying to do Teshuvah should take to heart Ki Ta'ava Olela Lenafsho Lechato. That it was his physical desire that induced him to sin. Velimshoch He'arvon Bechavle Hashav. And to pull sin upon himself with cords of falsehood. Okay? Therefore, he should create a fence to protect the path that he has taken. By abstaining from unnecessary physical pleasures. And avoiding being drawn after his desires, even in permitted matters. Rather, a Baal Teshuvah should accustom himself in the ways of perishut. This is one of the levels in the Messiah Shem also. Abstinence. Meaning, for example, classic example, only eat what you need to sustain yourself, to satisfy your soul and your body. Nafsho. As Mishle says, a righteous person eats to satisfy his soul. That is enough to sustain health, which the soul needs, and not for the physical pleasure of sustaining his body. Beautiful. Very, very nice. Sefer Chinuch explains like this also on mitzvah, Taf Lamed. So very good. So perishut is the 9th example. The 9th principle in Teshuvah, says Rabbeinu Yonah. Ve'al yigash el isha rak l'kayem mitzvat periyah v'rivah ol mitzvah orna. This is a very high level. It's talking about obviously married men. And she should not approach a woman except to fulfill the mitzvah of production and the mitzvah of ona. Mitzvah of ona is it's in the ketubah. It literally means time. A husband owes his wife time, which is the lashon haki way of saying intimacy. Okay, so when at due time, when everyone gets there, they'll know that this is one of the obligations of a man for his wife. Rabbeinu Yonah is defining that a Baal Teshuvah should also conduct abstinence in this realm as well. Not abstinence, controlling in this realm as well, even when it's mutar lacha. I would venture to say in our generation, when the Yetzer Hara is so strong, I wouldn't prescribe this on the masses. Not that I'm God for cholek on Rabbeinu Yonah, but I think we aren't at the level yet. This is a very high level, and it needs both parties to subscribe to it and want it. But obviously, it's without any question that you can just translate to the opposite extreme to women who aren't mutar to people. It's a no-brainer. It wouldn't even be in pursuit. That would be in prerequisites at all. But abstinence from inappropriate relationships, abstinence from things that deter us from the proper service of Hashem. So first he said was when it comes to eating, don't overeat. Second he says is in regards to women. Then the third he says Kikol zaman she'adam holech acharei ta'ava. Why is curbing a desire so important? Because for as long as the person follows the direction of his desire, nimshach acharei toldot hachomer, he automatically is drawn after his inclination, the inclinations of his physical being. The yirchak miderech hanefesh hamaskelet, and veers from the path of his spiritual soul. The az yitgaber yitro alav, and once he's no longer connected to his intellectual or physical or neshama, what happens then? The Aziz Kaber Yitzur Alav. Then the Yetzirah gains the ability to overpower him. Shekanyan Shenamar. Vayishman Yeshun Vayivat. It says in Ha'azinu. Vayishman Yeshun Vayivat. And Yeshurun became fat. Yeshurun is a reference to Israel. They became fat and they rebelled. V'neimar. Pen tochal v'savata. V'ram levavecha. And then it's also said, take care lest you eat and be satisfied, and your heart becomes hardy, and you forget God. V'neimar. Pen esba v'chichashti. As it says in Mishle, give me not wealth, but allot my daily bread, lest I become satiated and deny you. Ve'amru. In this vein, our sages of blessed memory said in Masachet Sukkah, Ever katan yesh be'adam masbi'o ra'ev mar'ivo saveya. The small organ in a man, when he's satiated, he is hungry. When he starves it, he is sated. This refers to the male organ. When a person indulges in relations, his desire grows. But when he abstains from them, his desires dwindle. So it's a profound idea. The more someone gives into the Yetzirah of nashim, of illicit relationships, and Rabbeinu Yonah is not even talking about illicit, it's talking about really mutar relationships, whatever. But the more someone engages in that world, the more power it has over you. The less you engage in that world, the more control you have over it. It's incredible, says the Gemara, and Rabbeinu Yonah brings this as a proof as well. So the step one in this idea of a principle of Teshuvah, of the ninth principle of Teshuvah, is breaking our physical desires and temptations. It begins by eating. Don't overeat. Battle of our generation. Begins with women. Be careful what we look at, what we think. Even with women who are mutar lachem, you have to be mindful for. Why? Because when you are going after your temptation and desires, you're distancing from your neshama, quote unquote, and your Yetzirah is enabled now to chas v'shalom try to fight and play games with you. We'll do a little bit more. Another benefit of gaining control of one's physical desires. The desire that is seated in a person's heart is the root of all his actions. Meaning the heart's desire is what naturally motivates a person's actions. We're drawn after our desires and our temptations. Therefore, if one remedies his physical desires, so that instead of letting all of his limbs service those desires, he will draw the limbs in the direction of his intellect, so that they will join with it and serve it. Then all of his actions will be proper. Shenemar v'zach yashar pa'olo. As is stated in Mishle, a pure one, his every deed is upright. V'ne'emar, the pasuk says, v'ta'avat nihya ter'irav la'nafesh. Desire that is broken, nihya, is pleasant to the soul. Nihya kemo nishberet. The word nihya in this pasuk means nishberet, means broken. Milashon nihyeti v'nichleti, as it says in Daniel, I became broken, nihyeti, and ill, nichyeti, nechleti. 4 days. Amar ki kasha yishbor adam ta'avato gam bedarim mutarim. This pasuk tells us that even when a person breaks his desire to the extent that he abstains even from excess of permitted things, bazeh titzal hanefesh. Then a result of this, his soul will succeed in this mission as well. This is the famous Ramban that everyone always likes to talk about. Kedoshim Tiyu. Kedoshim Tiyu, there's Rashi's opinion that it's what? Perushim min ha'arayot. You have to be separate from illicit, immoral relationships. The Ramban argues on Rashi and says, no. What is Kedoshim Tiyu? Not be holy, but to be separate from Hamutarim Lachem. That which is permitted to you. What? I'm allowed to eat a burger. Yeah, I can eat kosher food. If it's kosher, I can have. Don't indulge in too much of that. Even what's mutar, be careful and mindful to not let it overtake your body and your mind. The Rabbeinu Yonah is alluding to exactly this idea as well. For this character trait will be present in it. For through it, the person's intellect will raise its hand and gain control of his body, so that his limbs will serve his intellect. How do we again, there's our heart and our actions. What gets drawn after what? Our heart inspires and draws after our actions, meaning our actions are drawn after our heart. So it's very important that we purify and are honest and cleanse our heart so our actions can follow in pure, honest truth. Rabbeinu Yonah continues to explain the end of the pasuk. Desire that is broken is pleasant to the soul, but turning from evil is an abomination to fools. This means that fools who do not bother to break their desire, but constantly pursue human pleasures, when the desire encounters a sin or any other bad thing on its way, it's such a classic and simple, logical explanation. When someone is not able to control their desire, with what's mutar, with poppers, with food, with kosher TV, kosher sports. I'm not talking about gambling. I'm not talking about any negative outlet. With healthy outlets, but what he can't control is temptations. When your Yetzer Hara comes knocking, how are you going to control that? If you can't control the mutar lecha, good luck controlling the asur lecha that you're burning and itching to achieve. Okay? Lo yatsur menu, they're not going to turn away from it. These people are called fools because of their pursuit of human pleasures. As they say in Mishle, a desirable. Oh, sorry, I didn't see. As the pasuk says, a desirable treasure endures in the home of the wise, but the fool man swallows it up. Rabbeinu Yonah cites an additional pasuk that condemns the pursuit of pleasures. V'ne'emar, hoi mashkime baboker, shechar yirdofu ve'aya kinon v'nevel. At the beginning of Yeshayahu, woe to those who rise early in the morning to pursue liquor. I think we unfortunately know people that on Pesach vacation they wake up, they go drink. In summer vacation they wake up, they go drink. Woe, says Yeshayahu, woe to those who wake up to go drink. Who stay up late at night while it wines inflame them. Who stay up late at night not to learn Torah, but to drink and have more wine. There are harp and lyre and drum and flute and wine in their drinking places, but they would not contemplate the deed of Hashem and would not look at the work of His hands. And as Mishle says, but the stomach of the wicked will always lack. Unbelievable. A lustful person is never satiated, says the Metzudot on that pasuk. It's so true. You have something, you'll always want more. If you can't control those desires, you'll never be happy with what you have. V'ne'emar, v'zeriti peresh al penechem, peresh chagichem. It is further stated in Malachi, I will scatter filth upon your faces, the filth of your festivals. Chazal tell us in Masechet Shabbat, Elu b'nei adam shekol yemehem kechagim. This is a verse of people who treat all their days like festivals, like when you're on Chagim we eat a lot, right? Every day is a Chag. They always overeat. The Rambam writes in Chod Deot, Torah scholar should not be a glutton, but should only eat food that he will sustain his health. Should not overeat, nor seek to fill his belly like the people who gorge themselves until their stomachs are bloated.
So is this also applying to Shabbat where it's a mitzvah to eat like a lot?
So again, the idea Rabbeinu Yonah is talking about now is controlling our temptation and desires. Yes, it applies on Shabbat, but there's a mitzvah on Shabbat to have Oneg Shabbat. So there's a fine balance of Oneg Shabbat versus Achilat Gasa, eating unnecessarily. And part of these things is how Rabbeinu Yonah defines for us the principles of Teshuvah. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Hazak Ubaruch.